Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. The federal government shutdown expected to extend into next week with no signs of progress toward a resolution. Both Democrats and Republicans have been staying on script and on message, blaming each other for the mess. But once the shutdown does end, both Democrats and Republicans will be back on Capitol Hill, getting six-figure salaries and government-subsidized health care. The federal workers, the ones really feeling the effect of the shutdown, likely won't be so lucky. Lily O'Shea Becker has more on how everyday workers are trying to make ends meet.
If something happens on the federal government level, what people need to understand is it's going to affect you.
Kansas Cityans who have been furloughed from their federal jobs voiced their concerns to Representative Sharice Davids on Thursday.
We're tired of being used as political pawns.
Tired and
I am so anxious all the time.
Defeated.
Very, very disorienting to not know when your next day of work is and to not know when your next paycheck is.
Jeff Suchman is president of Local 1748. He represents regional U.S. Department of Labor employees. He, along with about 75% of his union, have been furloughed.
So I can't express the urgency enough that the 24th, we've got to get something fixed.
At that point, I'm fully expecting about 30,000 federal employees in the Kansas City area to start running out of money.
Daniel Sharpenberg is a furloughed IRS worker. He's already feeling the burden.
I'm not sleeping at night. It's really, really hard. And I have a 15-year-old boy at home. And I don't know if you know anything about teenage boys, but they eat a lot. So it's hard. It's going to get increasingly hard for me to keep food in my house. We are real people suffering and being hurt by what's going on in Washington.
These federal workers say they don't choose their jobs for the pay, but to serve the public. Chandler McGinnis continues to work at the Social Security Administration without pay.
I think the first couple of days it was a little bit of dread, but now it's more a fire that is burning in me that I have to stay and I have to help.
Reporting in Kansas City, Lily O'Shea Becker, KSHB 41 News.
Meanwhile, Senate Republican leaders are considering taking up a bill as soon as next week to pay federal workers affected by the shutdown. That's according to a source familiar with the matter. Up until now, Republicans have held off on voting to pay workers, saying Democrats needed to vote to reopen the government for that to happen. 60 votes would be needed for it to advance. That would require bipartisan support. Senate Majority Leader John Thune took procedural steps this week to put the bill on the floor. Other GOP leaders say they're weighing introducing a bill that would require members of the military to be paid. The Nebraska Farm Bureau, meanwhile, urging the federal government to help Nebraska producers amid U.S.-China trade tensions. A statement issued by the Farm Bureau Thursday called for a multi-point aid package. The federal government might be sending a $10 billion aid package to producers affected by the trade war. That's money that would at least in part come from tariff revenue. But Farm Bureau officials say ag producers need lasting results, adding the current government shutdown isn't helping.
There are some reports that normally come out that tell us harvest progress, what the yields are out there. Those reports tend to influence the market. So we're not very confident on really what's going on as far as actual volume of acres being harvested and what the yield is.
Among the steps the Farm Bureau would like to see taken include a reciprocal trade agreement with China, year-round sales of E15 fuel, and even restoring whole milk onto school menus. In other news, a man wanted for murder in Wisconsin in custody in Nebraska after a traffic stop Thursday. These images show traffic backed up along I-80 near Waverly. That's where the Nebraska State Patrol had pulled over a vehicle believed to be driven by a man wanted for murder in Milwaukee on Tuesday. The vehicle was headed westbound on the interstate. Authorities say the man taken into custody without incident. He's now being held in Nebraska pending extradition to Milwaukee. A carbon dioxide capture pipeline slated to be built in multiple states, including Nebraska, is on hold largely because of actions taken in South Dakota. A law signed by our neighbor to the north's governor marks certain protections for landowners. Beth Warden has more on what that might mean for the Summit Pipeline.
This is what the Summit Carbon Solutions route map used to look like before the South Dakota eminent domain bill halted the CO2 pipeline in South Dakota. The proposed route now goes right up to the South Dakota border near Sioux Falls and stops.
Like pipeline to nowhere at this point.
Jessica Mazur is talking about the new Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline map as shown on the application with the Iowa Utilities Commission. She's with the Iowa Sierra Club.
They're not telling us where the CO2 is going and what it will be used for. What we can see, though, is the section of pipe that was going to go into Nebraska. They changed the size from 12 to 24 inches.
Mazur says Summit Carbon Solutions is requesting the conditions be removed in phase 1 of their approval in Iowa.
And those conditions specifically said, you're approved, but you cannot start construction until you have approval in North and South Dakota. Summit's recent amendment is requesting the removal of the South Dakota condition.
I asked Summit Carbon Solutions about their pipeline route. A spokesperson responded, our amendment request keeps open the option to transport CO2 west through Nebraska or north through South Dakota, which is part of our original permit.
What do you think South Dakotans need to know about this?
To continue to stay strong and vigilant, because Summit is not giving up. They're continuing to try. And your neighbors in Iowa and Nebraska could really use some of that fighting spirit that we saw so strongly in South Dakota.
Land rights advocate Ed Fishbach of Aberdeen stands ready to help.
We stand with our friends in Iowa, and we will do whatever they ask us to do or whatever we can to support their efforts.
Fishbach says Iowans are facing the same fight.
If this goes through and a private company is allowed to seize people's land for their own personal benefit, and the taxpayers of this country are forced to subsidize it on top of it, there is a danger for anybody. There's no one safe.
Paramedics in rural Nebraska say they're able to work with more confidence and less guesswork thanks to new technology. Peter Rice has more.
In emergency medicine, accuracy can save lives. Now, one rural Nebraska ambulance service is the first in the state to use this new technology that takes some of the guesswork out of patient care.
We have the ability now to have accurate patient weights, which helps us with patient dosing for different medications.
The new one-weight scale from Hinckley Medical attaches directly to the cot. It automatically weighs the patient the moment they're loaded. That data then syncs instantly with a new statewide app being used called OneDose, which then calculates precise dosage for medications needed on the spot.
We were very, rudimentary in Nebraska. Beforehand, we would have a PDF of 300 some pages to scroll through, or a physical paper copy to have to flip through and try to find a specific protocol. And now we're not only able to have an app that we can search and quickly pull things up, but it pairs with the scale, so we can just put them on, get it immediately.
Broken Bow is the first EMS service in Nebraska to put the new system in the field, which is a big milestone for a community of less than 4,000 residents. The technology was developed by Tristan Hazlitt, who founded Hinckley Medical after realizing how often first responders had to guess the weight of patients.
As it turns out, in EMS, paramedics, EMTs, really to no fault of their own, have been taught and guess people's weights to give medication dosages. And obviously it's never that simple, right? They have standardized dosing, there's all these things. The essence is there's never been a scale in EMS. So me being a college student thinking I can solve every problem in the world, I was like, oh, I'll just make a scale. That sounds pretty easy.
It took 3 years to design and test the system, and now it's being adopted across the country in more than 40 states. For the Broken Bow team, it's all about giving every patient the best chance possible.
Even though we live in a very small rural community in the middle of Nebraska, we have a very advanced ambulance service and an amazing team to back it up.
Broken Bow Ambulance Service now has one-weight systems on 2 of its 3 ambulances, with plans to expand as new units are added. In Broken Bow, Peter Rice, News Channel Nebraska.
And Class D district cross-country races took over Skyview Lake in Norfolk, and a couple of freshmen stole the show. Tyler Murphy has more.
With 12 different schools and over 60 girls looking for a ticket to the state finals in Kearney, it was a new competitor with a familiar last name who cashed in her ticket. Crofton freshman Avery Arns crossed the finish line with a time of 17 minutes and 53.7 seconds, which would have qualified her for the boys' state race.
It feels really good. Like, me and my team, we've been doing this the whole entire time. We've been working up to this, and we were ready for this even in the beginning.
Crofton also finished in first with a combined score of 10. Both Arns and the team qualified for the NSAA Cross Country Championship in Kearney. Shifting over to the boys' race, Norfolk Catholic remained in a tight pack up front the entire time. At the end, freshman Teddy Hake took home first place in his first district race. Hake didn't think he'd win, but knew if he kept up with his team, success would follow.
My team, we've all been switching, winning at races. And we've all been running together. So my goal this meet was just to stay with my teammates because we've all been running well together.
Hake finished with a time of 17 minutes, 33.5 seconds, and his team also took first.
For 2025 D2 District Boys Champion with a time of 17 minutes, 33.5 seconds from Norfolk Catholic, Teddy Hake.
In Norfolk, Tyler Murphy, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com. Click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. This is News Channel Nebraska.